So, what's the deal, man? What's the sitch?
I'm fairly new to Dota, not gonna lie. I've been playing for like 8 months or so. My wife always shit talks me because she plays at like the divine, like borderline immortal rank. And she caught me watching your stream and she was like, "Oh, well, since you don't like playing with me, why don't you just, get a coaching session from BSJ?" And I was like, "Well, fuck you. Maybe I will." And then I did, and now here I am.
That might be one of the funnier origin stories, I guess. So, what's your? It sounds like you have a nice, healthy marriage going there.
Banana slam jam.
I've been playing like 3-4, and I'm sitting at like 1200 MMR, but I've been on the climb recently. I haven't lost a game in a bit, but I know I'm trash. I know I'm absolutely ass tier at the game. And I figured someone who is not ass tier at the game could show me what I'm fucking up so I can help snowball games harder
For
as
sure,
a
for sure.
support.
You're a support.
Yeah, support off lane usually like
Okay.
3-4.
Oh yeah, I thought. Oh, okay. For some reason in my head, I heard mainly three. So okay, so you play both of the positions that go off. So, sure. I assume you maybe have one replay of each, or what are you planning for today?
Yeah, I do. I have a Wraith King replay and a Mirana one.
So is that Wraith King a three position Wraith King?
I believe so.
Okay.
Actually, no. I think my team wanted me to go one that game, so I think
So
I ended up
are
doing
you
that.
wanting me to teach you about one position or three? Like I don't mind really, but we can
I,
talk.
s- I'm still new to Dota, so whatever you think you can give the most insight towards, I'd be more happy to learn
Yeah, I'm
because I
fine
know
to
I'm
I'm fine
dumb.
to do either of those roles, man. I'm very comfortable on either. So I'm fine if you give me that Wraith King replay. I'm just saying it's like your time, it's your money, right? So I just want to make
Okay,
sure you get what you want out of this session. So if you're content to get coached on carry, I'm totally fine to do that.
we can do carry.
Okay,
I think I played.
cool.
I played bad, but we can check it out.
Okay, cool, man. So you have a Wraith King replay, and what was the other hero? You said Mirana?
Yes, sir.
So cool. Which one do you want to do first?
We can do the Wraith King one first.
Okay, sounds good. Go ahead and send me the replay ID in Discord.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is the 1.2k Road to Divorce coaching session, guys. I'm kidding.
Oh, no, it's healthy. She's just been playing this game since release, and
3 years of
she
awesome
she had me
Dota
download it and play a
BSJ.
game with her, and it was not the most fun time I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, no,
So
Collie and I, that's my girlfriend, by the way, we've had some interesting experiences. It's tough to play Dota with someone you care about. It's like, it's a game that naturally drives a wedge between you, man. It's tough.
she's just so good, and I'm so bad.
Yeah, that's, I don't want to say that's the reverse of mine, but, if Collie's watching, I'll probably have to sleep on the couch tonight. So, Lexi, thank you for the 3 years. But, so, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you real quick. And,
Well, it's great because after this, like, if we look at like the rankings, technically, my wife compared to you is like me compared to her, so it's fair.
yeah, there you go. Kind of funny. I don't think I've heard a story of a wife or girlfriend introducing her husband or boyfriend to Dota. I've never heard it that way. Okay, so you actually are an off-lane Wraith King. So I'm just gonna be honest. At your bracket, anything can kind of work, but at the same time, I do encourage people, generally speaking, to try to play heroes like kind of in their appropriate role. And if you are gonna play Wraith King as a carry, or sorry, as an offlaner, this hero is normally a carry. But what I'm going to talk about in this session is mainly your job as an offlaner. At one point in time, I believe it was TI8, Wraith King was played as an offlaner. So the hero is not incapable of playing as an offlaner. They've kind of just like made him scale better, but made his laning stage weaker, which kind of turned him into a carry, as opposed to an offlaner back then. And we're just going to go over a lot of fundamentals today, because at the end of the day, that's what people in 1K have to get better at. So, item-wise, you're really skimping on the regen, and we're going to start talking about basic principles of heroes to think about. So, if you had to give me an estimate, out of curiosity, how many heroes in Dota do you know about?
I've played every hero in Dota at least 3 games on every hero.
Really? You've played 3 of every hero in Dota?
I have, yes, sir.
Wow, okay, that's a good start, honestly. It's not something where, when I was learning, I was just randoming all the time, and it helped me learn.
I literally just started at the beginning, and I was like, all right, I'll play Abaddon for 3 games, and then the next hero for 3 games, and so on and so forth.
Oh, okay, that's not bad.
I can't tell whether I love or hate a hero based on 1 game.
Yeah, I think first and foremost about Dota, before you can start practicing all the mechanics and stuff, all the concepts and stuff, you do have to have like a general understanding of every hero, or most heroes in the game. Like a general, very like, this hero's 4 abilities are this, like not necessarily they have to understand the matchups and all that kind of shit, but getting used to that kind of stuff. So at the very beginning for me, I was randoming a lot. When I talk the very beginning, I'm talking like the first 8 months of my Dota. So, so now that we're at that point, where you said you've played every hero, I want you to start thinking about heroes, okay? So if I'm off lane, if I'm safe lane, I'm just looking at my opponent matchup, and I'm like, okay, what do these heroes do? So, looks like the other team's pulling the same approach as you. They got 2 carry heroes and no offlane hero. I'm either against Slark or Alk. So, against Slark, what do you think? What are your guesses here? Like, how does Wraith King and Pudge match up against the Slark?
That's probably going to be a really annoying lane for us. The only way we kill him is if we kill him before 6. I think is the only way we kill him.
And how about trading like level 1 and shit?
If he has Essence Shift, we probably don't want to trade with him.
He just kind of hits you a lot, right?
Yes,
most of their damage is going to be physical from the Essence Shift. It also kind of accounts for if this is an Alchemist safe lane. That hero has obviously Acid Spray, which does minus armor. So I'm just looking at your build and I'm thinking, I see this Gauntlets of Strength and I'm thinking that should be some armor. And then I also look at if you're against Slark, if you're like below half health, you're going to die. So these are things I'm starting to think about. I understand if you don't think about them yet. That's not, I'm just giving you an idea. Like Slark is like a kill lane hero. Certain heroes harass a lot. Certain heroes kind of just passively farm. Some heroes like Slark can harass or kill you, So against kill heroes, I like that salve because I want to make sure if they commit onto me and I get away, I go back to full. Against harass heroes, I like extra tangos. Do they do physical damage? Do they do magical damage? Do they use a lot of abilities so you consider stick? I'm just giving you a bunch of basics. And if you're against a hero like Slark that threatens to kill me, look, it's the second game of the day, guys, where I've had a Wraith King level his Vampiric Aura before the game even starts. So a good habit for you and everyone else is to get in the habit of not skilling your abilities until you get to lane. So until the game starts. Until you need one of them. What this means is, like, what if they go on you with Slark and you're 100 health, and if you use your stun, you're going to get away, but if you don't have your stun, you're just going to die. That's an example of, like, wow, I wish you had your stun. So, just like the other guy, the majority of games, at least in the carry role, you're going to go for that Vampiric Aura, but a lot about Dota is giving yourself as many options. So, kind of repeating myself a bit for people who've been on here all day, it says you were, but making sure that giving yourself as many options. So I'm going to try to make you form habits. Wait until you get to lane to skill your ability on most heroes. Make sure you have at least 2 pieces of regen. I would say the amount of times where I need 1 piece of regen and not 2 is so rare that I'd rather you just have that extra regen. And if you don't end up using it, like, okay, I know you're in 1K, lanes can look unrecognizable to me, so whatever. And then on top of that, the way I want you to think about the lane is if they're more of a kill lane, salves are great. If they're more of a harass lane, tangos are great. So you can start deciding between 2 tangos or a tango salve, That's going to be a nice little lesson for you. Like, as you're growing MMR, it's very basic, but it'll help you as you're thinking about it. Little starting items can make quite the difference if you do them way better than all your 1K comrades here. Okay. So, a little bit of a speech at the start of the game, and, okay, so it is an Alp, not the Slark, which, lucky for you, it's the Alp. But same idea, the Ring of Protection, I think, would just be a bit better, so let's see what happens here. I think you walking up that hill was crazy, by the way. It's hard to, like, talk to you much more about that. But if that was a Slark, you kind of just die. You know, but we'll worry about that later. People would have to punish you for it first. So let's see what's going on here. Okay. I'm gonna. My goal is to come out of this session for you with like 4 or 5 fundamentals to work on. That's what our goal is going to be. So the first one can be the Tango South thing, I think, and the magic or physical damage. So you got the good old classic Pudge sitting in the trees doing nothing. That's one of my favorites. Do you know what creep aggro is?
Yes, sir. I don't know how to abuse it. All I know how to do is if I right click them, I can make the creeps come to me. So in a really shitty lane, I can not have to stand so close to them. I can bring the lane towards me. That's about the only thing I know how to do.
Okay.
I'm not good at that.
How many games or how many times a game would you say you use it?
It kind of is going to be really stupid probably, but it kind of depends on how I feel about the matchup. If I feel like against Alk, I kind of want to shove the lane so I can take his tier 1 so I can invade his jungle was my thought process. Whether that's right or not, I don't know. So I don't do it a whole lot this lane because I'm just thinking shove the lane on Alk so he can't run to the jungle.
First and foremost, it's really dangerous to play Wraith King with skeletons against Alk. Do you know why?
Acid spray and his little gold thing that he does.
Yeah, do you know it goes on your skeletons on the first death? Also give him the passive?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he gets double Grievel's Greed from your skeletons. So a normal hero gets 5 gold, while Alk will get, once he hits level 7, he'll get 65. Right, so small little mechanics thing, but in this lane I probably wouldn't even level my skeletons. Like, actually, I think you're just going to feed out gold on average if you level skeletons there. So, obviously I don't expect you to know that, but something to know. Okay, pretty much the only hero in the game where that's a problem. Okay, so all I want you to do is get down the mechanics of creep aggroing. So, next 10 games, 20 games you play, just creep aggro off cooldown. Like, do it all the time. Do you know what the cooldown is of creep aggroing?
3 seconds.
Okay, and do you know how long they aggro you for?
Oi, no sir.
2.3. So there's going to be like a 0.7 second window where creeps will de-aggro you and all that kind of shit, and you can't re-aggro them again. The idea is, I don't need you to perfectly know these numbers at this current moment, but I want you to get a nice feel for how long those creeps are going to chase you. Have this general idea. Not general idea. You don't even have to, it doesn't even have to be right, but try to move the creeps to a specific spot. Like, get in the habit of, right now, try to drag these creeps to your range. After you drag them to your range and your range is dead, maybe try to drag them to, right here. Just attempt to drag them to a specific spot so that later on in your career of Dota, when you start to understand the benefits of creep aggro, you can actually aggro them to where you want them. And it won't just be some random spot, right? It's going to be exactly where you want it to be for a reason. But right now, I want you to really get that mechanic down. People in your bracket, they're not going to fuck with you at all. So it's great. You can just practice like they don't exist. And what I'm going to tell you is there's a lot of situations where it's bad to use creep aggro, but you're not going to really learn those if you don't just use creep aggro, right? You should just use it. See what happens. That's what your bracket's really all about, is learning to maximize based on mechanics of Dota. But you just kind of have to do it, So it sounds like such a simple tip, but I want you to just practice it. So let's see here. So a perfect example of creep aggro. If you're an offlaner and the lane's right here, you can drag these creeps to your range such that this guy gets denied this range creep. So that's a great example of creep aggro usage, okay? So anytime the lane's like this, where it's separated, see this?
Yes, sir.
Great time to A-click the enemy hero right here and drag it to your range. You can practice that in a private lobby all you fucking want. People in your bracket are going to be like, wow! Where's the range creep? Fuck. They're not going to know because nobody else in your bracket, I guarantee, does that. Very simple trick, but, if you're not aware of it, so be it. You're not going to use it. So as an offlaner, I love this. Anytime the lane's like back here, like anywhere that's not like right here, it'll help you a lot to do this. So just anytime you see the lane fractured like this, where you're separated from the guy, have a little sticky note in the top right to do this, you know? Drag these to this. If you want to be in a private lobby where you practice dragging those melee creeps to your range, perfect. People may be like, BSJ is 1k. Why are you teaching him creep aggro? I don't think this is above your capabilities, right? Like, do you think you could recognize a similar situation to this again?
Yes, sir. I actually have a notepad on my other computer.
Cool.
If I don't answer from it, because I can't talk and type at the same time.
Yeah, gotcha. I'm just making sure. Like, if you don't feel like you understand what I'm telling you to do, please tell me. Like, I do know I can be a bit presumptuous about what people know and understand, and sometimes just not be fully in tune with that. So I want to make sure, if you don't understand what I'm saying, that you tell me. Okay. Another little mechanic. Instead of manually clicking your button to level up, you can use control. So if you want to level this ability, whatever your hotkeys are, just control Q, control W, control E. It'll level it for you. So very small little thing, but there's going to be times, I can tell you, where you want to like level up and you're going to want to stun this guy instantly, and you having to like move your mouse to here and then move your mouse to him is going to make it so you don't stun him. Okay? Do you see what I'm saying there?
Yeah, I didn't know that was something I could do.
There's a lot of little hotkeys. I completely expect anyone as new to you to the game that just don't understand it. So anytime you want to level up, just control Q, control W, control E. It's such a small thing, but I know it'll pay off in random moments, and there's just no reason not to do it. Okay, so you go for a double bracer. I'm not really going to worry about items. I'm going to worry about general fundamentals of laning for you. I think cores items are a bit too much to worry about when you have a lot of fundamentals of lane that I want you to practice. So, when the lane's pushed into their tower, like this, there's a beautiful mechanic that you can abuse as an offlaner. It's called the pull camp. You ever pull this camp ever? Have you ever pulled this camp?
So I know how to do it. I don't know the timing exactly. The new the new timing thing with the new update makes it a little easier, but I still suck at it.
Here.
It's way easier to pull the small safe lane camp.
Great, man. If you're gonna be a fucking offlane player, you need to know how to pull this camp. So what you can do here, I'm gonna give you a nice step-by-step guide here. Okay, we're gonna custom lobby it up. Create. Okay, I'm gonna give you a step-by-step. You can write this down if you want. Custom lobbies. Create. Go to settings. Edit here. Edit. You're gonna go to you're gonna go to enable cheats. Cool. Enable those cheats. You're gonna start the game. You can pick whatever the fuck hero you want to pick. It doesn't really matter. If you want to practice with Wraith King, sure, let's do that. So, we're gonna skip ahead. Making sure I'm announcing every single button I'm pressing. So now you've got cheats on. We're gonna go ahead and do this cheat. Start game. Dash, start game. Everything requires dash. You wanna get to someone real quick? Dash teleport. It'll go to wherever your cursor is. You wanna spawn some neutrals? Spawn neutrals. And you look at that creep camp right here. And you say, okay, it's telling me to pull that way. Okay. What if I'm late? I pulled at 19. Oh shit, I guess I should have pulled at 18. You know, I'm just giving you an example of how you learn here. Like, I was just a second late, you know? I'm also talking, but I'll take the blame. I pulled poorly. So what happens is, whenever the lane pushes into their tower, the benefit of this for you, just to be very clear. By the way, do this until you can do it like five times in a row. Like, once you do it like 5 times in a row, you're good, okay? If the creeps die, give yourself like 3 Battle Furies and kill these creeps, like just kill these creeps off because these have to be dead, right? The point is, if the lane's pushing into their tower, you have 2 options that are good for you. This is conceptual, but it's pretty straightforward. If the lane's pushed in, you either dive them or you pull. So if you don't feel confident to dive them, which in your game you were like level 3 or whatever, then you should pull. So try to get in the habit of anytime your creeps are walking into their tower range, having that in mind. So the first option is to dive them. If you don't feel strong enough or whatever, then go pull. And I'm fine if you go dive them and just feed, you know, if you think you can dive them. Like, just make a guess. That's all Dota is guessing and hoping you learn from it. What this pull does for you a lot of time is one of two things. If you're in a really bad lane, it's going to allow these creeps to now come back to your tower, right? That's what it's going to do. If you're in a really good lane, it actually allows you to just farm this camp on top of all the other farm you're going to get. And then you can still farm the creeps that are now going to come to your tower. So usually when you pull, if it's that type of lane, your goal should be to kill this camp as fast as possible such that the opponent can't walk over and get it from you. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so just think. If I'm in a bad lane, I'm doing this to pull the lane back. If I'm in a good lane, I'm doing it to get the extra farm. That's all there is to it. So if you're trying to do it for the extra farm, kill those creeps as fast as possible. They also split XP with you if the creeps die near them. So if you can, you try to kill it before they can even split XP with you. But that's just a mechanic I want to make sure you know, that anyone within XP range of that neutral camp will split the creeps with you. So, including your allies, but also including enemies. Okay, so something to practice. That's a very important skill for an offlaner to utilize in general. So, would hate to have you continue playing offlane without making use of that. I guarantee you most offlaners in your bracket don't do that. So most carry players in your bracket, they're not going to know where the fuck the creeps went. I'm actually pretty sure about that. Okay, so let's go back to your... Any questions about that, by the way?
No, sir. I appreciate the explanation.
Cool. Okay. So this was where I told you either dive him or you pull, right? Like, that's the realization. You see the creeps running into his tower range, you either dive him or you pull. So what you're doing here is effectively killing these creeps over here, where I'm thinking, if you pull, you kill these camps, and then these creeps are going to, like, walk to you over here. Because this creep wave's not going to exist, right? Because this creep wave's the one you pulled. Like, this is going to be, this creep wave's over here. Right? That's what happened. And so this Alk's going to finish farming these creeps under tower. And then by the time you're farming these again, which are going to be over here, you've already killed these. So you've just given yourself an extra, big creep and a little creep? You know, that's what you've given yourself in comparison. So Dota's all about these, like, little efficiencies. And I'm just trying to be as clear as possible to exactly how that benefits you. So you actually pull their creeps to the neutral camp. I think that was the PUD. Doesn't really matter. That's not good.
Hello, I'm Gabe.
Okay.
You've just achieved first blood. Thanks and have fun.
So it looks like you're trying to abuse this big camp. This just isn't a thing. I would say don't do this until you're at least like 7 minutes into the game, 6 minutes into the game. You can mark that on your Nicky sticky note if you want. Most heroes just can't efficiently jungle until like level 6 or 7. Like, very few exceptions. And most of the time, even if your hero is efficient enough to jungle, you don't want to. Like, usually you're not. Like, usually you're trying to lane up until 6 or 7 minutes in. It's a very basic tip, but I also think at the very least, probably a better basic tip, you're not doing this unless the lane's in his tower. Like, you're not... If the creep... Like, if the equilibrium of the creeps is not past this camp, like, if these creeps are over here and it's not farther towards their base than this camp, you're not doing this. Okay? Is that, like, a nice little guideline you think you can work with?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, yeah, there's not much else to say there. Just try to avoid that. You're going to have a lot of little things to worry about. Maybe when you're practicing, pick the same hero over and over, whatever it is. If you want it to be Wraith King, great, whatever. And if, what was I going to say? Once you feel like you're confident in one, meaning like this game, every time the lane pushes, I'm going to pull the big camp. You could even just try to push the lane over and over again and pull the big camp, you know? See what happens. See how it benefits you. See how it is bad for you. There's times where it's bad. There's times where it's good, you know? Like, be like, yeah, that felt good. I got extra farm out of that, or whatever. That's really the only way to know. I think in your bracket, Alchemist is really hard to play against because it requires you to, like, really abuse his weaknesses and stuff. And right now... I don't mean to be rude, you're just not good enough to abuse Alchemist's weaknesses. So, in general, in your bracket, if you want to pick some carry-type offlaner, I'm fine with that. Especially one that has a stun, you know, spin, Wraith King, that kind of shit. I would probably ban Alk, just because I want you to be content farming and playing for your own efficiency and looking to, like, pressure towers, like you said, without the worry of having to shut this opponent down. Oh, you actually know how to de-aggro towers. Okay, that's the start. And then you just walk back in. Oh, that's pretty funny.
I didn't see this TP in, and I thought I could kill him. I don't know.
Yeah. You know what? I'm fine with your aggression. You said you think you're supposed to take the tower against Alk. That is true. And you're still going to be learning. So I don't really have much to talk about right there. I think... I will say, about your items, I would probably try to buy phase boots on Wraith King. Whether you're carry or offlane, I think it's just a better aggressive item, and it's going to allow you to either threaten kills better or escape ganks better. Because the way heroes like Wraith King get away from ganks is simply by walking. You know, any hero that fits that description is usually... It's easier to play with phase, you know? But at the end of the day, it's not going to, like, win or lose you the game if you go treads. So if you want to default to this build while you practice these other mechanics and concepts, I'm honestly... I'm not too worried about it. Okay. So we're going to... At this point, Alk's probably jungling. You know, I try to think to myself what the opponent's doing in general, and almost every time the carry leaves, he's jungling. When the carry's leaving to jungle... The majority of games, your job, like you said, is to push the tower as quickly as possible. And the way it works in the off lane and safe lane is that if I'm not strong enough to push the tower, what am I thinking? I'm asking your 1K brain. What are you thinking here? If you're not strong enough to push the tower, what are you going to try to do before you push the tower?
Take his camps while the wave's pushed.
Get as much farm as possible so you are eventually strong enough to take that tower. Okay? So, the way I look at Dota, if you're an offlaner, your goal is going to be to take this tower almost every single game. There's going to be exceptions, but I don't even want you to worry about those yet. I want your sole focus right now to be as efficiently as possible taking this tower. Okay? And so, the way I look at Dota is simple. There's an objective I have in mind. I either take it right now, or I identify a point where I think I can take it. Is that level 8? Is that level 7? Is that when I get treads? Is that when I get phase? Is that when they leave? You know, what? Just make a guess. You know, when do you think you're strong enough to take that tower? So the whole idea is, I told you have an objective, and if you're telling me you're not going to take it, then I just want you to think to yourself when you're gonna. Just throw a guess to yourself out there. Be like, I'm going to take it when I get level 8. You know? Whatever. Just make a guess. And what's going to happen is, I want you to play as efficiently as possible until that happens. So, at this point, if the carry is leaving, you should probably try to farm their camps, like you kind of said. Try to invade their camps. I see you backing off, and if you're going to back off to here first. I want you to start backing off to here first. The only exceptions to this is when you're, like, getting crushed in lane. Like, you are literally level 4 and the opponent's level 7 or some shit. But in your bracket, I don't feel like people are going to abuse you very well in terms of, like, aggression and all that kind of shit. So I want you to start playing efficiently for yourself. I don't think until about 2.5, 3K do we even have to start thinking about being aggressive on the opponent. We want to start thinking, what's our objective? We're going to farm as much as possible and get that objective as soon as possible. And later, once I feel like you can do that kind of efficiently, we can start worrying about, you know, matchups and timings and shit. You know, that's ways down the road. So we're not going to worry about that. Let's see where you go. You're going to retreat to your own jungle. No, you're going to back up. Okay. So, better late than never. This is the type of thing where you got to the right answer. It just took you an extra 15 seconds of kind of wandering. And that's a lot of what determines MMR at the lowest levels. How much time do you waste doing nothing? A lot of people, or everyone, all the way down to 7K even, will waste time. You know, the amount of time a 7K wastes is way lower than you, but it's higher than me. You know, the amount of time I as an 8K player waste is higher than a 9K player. Like, it's just all there is to it. So it looks like you are going to pressure this tower. Good. Okay. You're going to dive even? Great. Perfect. The fact that Alf probably doesn't know about the skeletons mechanic is pretty funny as well. Because if he knew, he'd definitely be acid spraying your fucking skeletons here. Okay. Oh, the ult dodge. Okay. A little tidbit of information. A lot of Wraith Kings will hold their ultimate skill point. Do you know why?
Because if you're casting spells, you might not have the mana to even use it.
If I'm diving tier 2, or like if I'm farming and I get caught out with no teammates around me, and I know I'm going to die twice, why would I want to ult?
Good point.
So what they do is they hold their skill point, because what if they get gone on in a situation where they're going to die twice no matter what, and it's a 240-second cooldown, or 200-second cooldown. So it's like, you just don't put it on cooldown, right? Something to think about. So get in the habit of trying to hold on to that ultimate, and right before you're going to die, if you think you need it, push it. Seems like a high, threshold kind of thing, and maybe you'll fuck up once or twice and just not use it. But it's actually nice. It's a nice little thing to make use of. If it saves you once, it's awesome. Like, there's times where you just don't want to ult. Okay, so your overall playstyle is reasonable. You're invading this Alex farm. You're running around in their jungle. Let's see. So almost every time you take that top tier 1. What do you think your next objective is?
If I'm playing offlane, just make space. Make them bring heroes to come contest me, or I take their tier 2. Like, just play there.
So is it tier 2 top is the only objective you're considering?
Well, no, like, save my carry. Like, I don't know how it's supposed to work, but I'm just thinking.
I'm asking for your guess. I'm not saying I need you to be right here.
If I make them bring heroes to come kill me, that's space for my mid laner or my safe laner to get farm. So if I make them bring people to me, that's TPs they have to commit, or that's time away from lane.
Okay.
So that should
So
be
I think
like
a good little practice for you at your bracket is to pick any offlaner that clears waves. Okay? So I want that to be your hero pool. You can have it be as many as you want, but your offlane hero has to be able to shove waves. Okay? So heroes that fit that description are ones that have summons, ones that have nukes, ones like Axe where they can, spin it down, ones like Centaur where they have retaliate. There's a lot of offlaners that do clear waves. What's an example of an offlaner that doesn't clear waves? Like Night Stalker, Undyings of the world. Even like, Earthshaker's not that great. It's like, he may clear waves, but they require using a big spell to do it. It's like, when you're Wraith King, does it take much to clear a wave?
No.
No, you just kind of hit it, right? Slardar doesn't clear waves. Ricky offlane doesn't clear waves. People pick that shit. I just want you to pick heroes that naturally push waves, okay? And so I was talking to Ari about this. I did a new coaching session with him on supporting. It's a little series we got. He's about the same MMR as you. So what I told him is, at this point in the game, once you take that tier 1 tower, we're engaging the dead lane concept. So what that means for you is we're trying to create pressure on mid and top. The only reason we go bottom is if we think we need to save our carry, okay? Like, if we need to help them. And I think for you, the majority of games, you can just act like bottom doesn't fucking exist at this point, okay? It just doesn't exist. You're playing around mid and top. So your job is to try to clear these waves as much as possible if nobody else is doing it. Meaning, if it's top lane, great. If it's middle lane, great. And then at that point, you have a choice between trying to take the tier 2 top and the tier 1 mid. All the kills and shit that happen in between, as long as you're making sure those lanes are pushed, I don't care. Like, you can look for aggressive plays in their jungle just like you're doing. Like, that's fine. But you pushed in top, you're walking towards mid. I'm thinking to myself, this guy's hopefully trying to pressure mid. Like, he's hopefully trying to push that tower with his invoker or something. Maybe looking for a kill. Maybe he's just looking to invade their jungle. Whatever. If you don't think you're strong enough to take mid tier 1 or top tier 2, what are you doing?
Taking the Alex farm?
Yeah, you're going to be farming until what?
Until I'm strong enough to take
Yeah, it's the same idea as top, right? So I just want you in this autopilot mode of objectives. You're pressuring top. Don't leave until you do. We're going to worry about, like, rotations and shit later, okay? Like, I think you could probably get to 5k on offlane never having fucking rotated in your life. Like, what I mean by rotating is like TPing to your own safe lane and ganking or something. I think you can probably get to 4 or 5k just not ever fucking leaving your lane. Okay, like, I'm pretty sure you could. When I say not leaving, walking mid is something you need to do. But, like, that's not even what I would consider leaving. You know, you're not inconveniencing yourself. You know, you're just walking through the opponent jungle and being aggressive. So we're gonna dwell in the top half of the map if we're Radiant, bottom half if we're Dire. Are you good with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The only exceptions to that is if your entire team comes bottom and there's just nothing to do there. Or sorry, top. So say you guys took top tier 2, right? Say it's already gone, and your entire team's here, and you're just like, what are we doing here, guys? I already took the objectives BSJ told me to take. I'm gonna leave now. You know? Like, just go push another lane. Like, go push mid, go push bottom. And after you've pushed that wave, I know this is hard to follow, but we're just gonna make sure. After you push whatever wave your teammates have, like, grouped around, like, say they grouped around top, you're gonna go TP bottom, push it out. You're gonna then walk your way back to top. That's all you gotta do. Just, like, you can regroup with your team if you want, but I want to avoid, like, random 5-manning based on me giving you these, like, guidelines. Because they're going to work for you in the majority of games, because all the shit I'm telling you is probably not going to happen most of the games. Meaning, like, your team's going to 5-man at their tower or some shit. But I just want to make sure you know it's not, like, illegal for you to ever go bottom. So, okay. So, basic. You take the top tower. We're now making sure top and mid are pushed in. If they're not pushed in, you do it. Okay? The idea that I told Ari, he was a support player, the way to carry in your bracket is nobody gives a shit about lanes. Nobody gives a shit. Like, they just don't understand. But I can tell you with my utmost promise that pushing lanes is how you win Dota. At the highest level, every decision is made on what lanes are pushed. Like, how do we push them? Who pushes it? Who de-pushes? Who's doing what in regards to pushing lanes. That's all it is. And every decision, in terms of map movements, jungle movements, everything is based on that. Am I expecting you to understand all these meanings? No. I'm expecting you to, every time, after you take that mid or top tier 1, to look at your minimap as much as you can. Like, you know, I know it's going to be tough to get in the habit, but look at the minimap as often as you can and say, BSJ told me this top lane and mid lane have to be pushed. And then at that point, maybe after you've done this for like 20 games or whatever, you can start thinking, you know, who am I scared of? You know, like, make sure I don't die while I'm doing it. You know, I'm trying to create space, but I'm also trying to not randomly feed, you know? Because that doesn't help if I'm just randomly feeding. Are you with me? Have I gone too far?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Cool.
I'm just typing.
Yeah, no, you're good. Just making sure. You know? Okay. Hey. Honestly, I didn't think this would work, but if you're playing in their jungle aggressively, I really couldn't give a rat's ass if it works or not. You know what? You'll learn if it works or not on your own. Like, that, I can't teach you all these fucking matchups and how team fights are going to work and if you're going to win them or not. I don't even want you to worry about that. If you think it's a good fight, go for it. Okay? Like, I really couldn't care less. Like, I want you to focus on where you're playing on the map at a very basic level. So your team's pushing mid. Based on BSJ's talk, after we push mid with our team here, because you are chilling with your team, where are you going to
go? Push top lane.
Okay, cool. I'm going to be very clear. The most aggressive move you can make on the entire map, other than, like, ending the game, okay, is walking into the opponent's triangle. You know what the triangle is?
Where I'm currently walking?
Yeah, it's these 3 camps, right? These 3 camps, and then on Radiant is these 3 camps. It's the most aggressive move you can make. I'm just going to make sure you understand the basics of what it means to do something. It is so aggressive. It means I think I'm a fucking raid boss. I give no fucks when you walk up this hill like this, okay? You don't have your ult, so you're not a raid boss. Like, so if you start playing heroes like Wraith King with his ult, that's defensive. If you start playing heroes like Beastmaster or, you know, like Axe, you know, when he gets a blink, it's like if he, like every hero has a condition for being aggressive, okay? Whether it's a cooldown, whether it's an item, Wraith King specifically obviously is a cooldown. I want you to have this basic knowledge that this is the safest part of the map for you. Right here. Enemy jungle, past the 10-minute mark, safest part of the map. There's very few exceptions, and it takes a lot of coordination to make it that way, and I highly doubt your 1K opponents are going to do that. Just to know that there are exceptions, and maybe sometimes you'll be like, BSJ told me this was safe, and I kept dying there. Ask yourself maybe why. Was the opponent grouping up a shit ton there? What was going on? Why was it so dangerous this game compared to others? And that's something you can try to learn on your own over time. But after you take this tower, the same condition applies. This tower doesn't change anything to your playstyle here, okay? So your whole shove lane top and shove lane mid does not change to when this tower is taken. What this now turns into, if you're Radiant, okay, is we're now looking at our two objectives as being pushing top and mid, but instead of having it been mid tier 1 as well as top tier 2, it's going to be top tier 2 and Roche. Okay? Are you following me?
Yes.
Okay. So all that means is you're thinking, BSJ, I now took mid tier 1. I'm going to keep shoving I'm going to keep shoving mid wave, and I'm going to keep shoving top wave, and I'm going to try to take Roche or top tier 2 whenever I think I'm strong enough. Whenever I think I can. And if you have absolutely no clue when you're strong enough to take Roche, maybe wait on that one. Maybe take the top tier 2 first for the first couple games. Whatever. The point being is that I want people to understand that Dota is relatively formulaic, and understanding the basic idea of the order of shit you're supposed to do is really awesome. It helps you do basic decisions way easier. And as a player at your bracket, you can start to focus on being more efficient with your farming and be more aggressive. But I just want you to do it in the right places. And if I can give you this cheat code to tell you where the right places are most of the time, that's what Dota is. And you'd be amazed how many people don't apply this at the top level. And I'm just trying to give it to you as basic as I can. I hope I'm doing a decent job. I've actually don't think I've ever, other than the last 2 sessions with Ari and you, that I tried to break this shit down in 1K level. So we're back to that, right? We're going to go push top, and once we've pushed in top and mid, we can look to kill, or look to be aggressive. And like I said, your condition in terms of if you think you're strong enough to be aggressive and all that kind of shit, that's just going to be you figuring out the game of Dota 2, okay? You're just going to be playing, and you're going to make a guess, hey, I think I'm strong enough to walk into their jungle, and then you're going to die with an ult, and you'll be like, wait a minute, I guess I should have waited for my ult, You'll just learn random lessons like that, okay? Okay, so we're walking into their triangle. Some shit is going down. Slark didn't push hard. Cool. Let's see. I'm gonna tell you, that shouldn't have worked. But, whatever. So, I actually enjoy these games because I just watch a Slark just not push hard. Okay, continuing. So, I will tell you, for the next 200 games, you just don't have to TP to the same side of the map you're on. Okay? Unless you're trying to TP to survive, just don't ever do that. If you're here, don't ever TP to here. Right? I'll just save you the struggle of having to learn that. It just doesn't... the only time I've ever TP'd to, the same lane I'm in is if the opponent goes on me with, 2 heroes that have no stun, and I'm just trying to escape. Does that make sense?
Yeah, looking at it, I don't understand why.
Yeah. Just start to be mindful. I'm going to tell you a little secret, okay? This is a secret that most 5K and 4K and 6K players don't know. Use of your TPs is really important. It's really important. To understanding Dota, it's really important to not TP badly. So, some basic guidelines for you is that unless they have brought almost their entire team top, do not TP bottom. Can we work with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got it.
So there's 4 or 5 enemy heroes in their jungle, and you are I don't really want to fight these guys. Then just TP bottom. Any other situation than that, don't do it. Okay, just don't. If you want to go bottom because of any other reason, just walk there. Okay, just walk. And if you don't feel like you want to walk there, and it didn't meet that situation of TPing there, then guess what? What do you think?
Don't go there.
Don't go there. Cool. We've now come to that beautiful conclusion together. I will just tell you that in general, if you look at farming, you have to think about the camps that a tower opens up, okay? And what I mean by that is Dota's all about, you know, who's farming more than who, right? That's like all it's about. So if I kill this tower, suddenly this camp no longer has a tower behind it, right? Meaning, like, if you're farming it, there's no longer a spot that the opponent can TP to, right? And now this camp is also very far away from any of their towers. So what you do by taking this tower is you open up both of these camps to kind of be yours. And you also open up the possibility of this camp too. Do you see that? How taking that tower does that?
Yeah, because they have nowhere to go.
Yeah, like there's nowhere behind you anymore, as long as you obviously have this, right? But there's nowhere behind you anymore. So that's how I want you to think about towers. So like when you take this tower, suddenly this camp feels really nice. And so does this one. And also even this one. Because there's no tower effectively behind these camps. Do you see that?
I got you.
Okay, so that's why, just at a very basic level, that this tower and this tower are very important. What camps does this tower open up?
The one to the left, and maybe their triangle, depending on how bot looks.
Yeah. The long story short is, maybe this one, maybe that one. Is that a very important tower?
Yes.
Maybe this one, maybe that one. Is that a very important tower?
Okay, no.
No, it's not. Okay, it's just not. Like, people just put a lot of emphasis on the mid-tier 2 for no fucking reason. It actually, like, it's a tower of, I get Roche, now I take this tower. Okay? Like, that's what this tower is. It's like, I take this tower because this tower is in the way of the tier 3. Like, that's why I take that tower.
Okay, so mid-tier 2.
Mid-tier 2 and top... The only reason top-tier 2's, like, a quote-unquote important tower is because it's where you want to play. Like, you're trying to shove this lane in all the time. Like, it's just convenient for you. It's not important in the sense that, like, you getting that tower is, like, important. It's just that, like, you taking that tower is the tower that's nice for you. By the way, supports, what the fuck is this shit? Why are you blocking the opponent jungle? That's, like, where your team's supposed to farm. Man, people are weird. This is some next level shit they probably saw on fucking Jenkins' channel or some crap. So, okay. So, we've TP'd bottom. Whatever. I obviously didn't teach you, like, map movements or anything before this session, so not gonna worry about it. Let's see what you do here. Oh, by the way, what camps does this tower open up?
I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Maybe
to that.
the Ancients? Maybe?
I thought you said walking the triangle
Yeah,
was like
it is.
big
It
energy.
is. So what does this open up?
Maybe
It's
there's
pretty
secret
much
tower.
nothing. Okay, it's pretty much nothing. So the story of this tower, let's tell you about the story of the tier 1 offlane for each team, okay? This is the story of this tower. In a good game of Dota, this tower either dies at 5 minutes or 20. That's just the story of this tower, okay? It dies super early because the safe lane won really hard. And it's like, well, we might as well push this tower since we won so hard. Or it dies at 20 minutes because there's no fucking reason to take it. Okay? So, that's pretty much the story of this tower. Obviously, at your bracket, there's going to be random moments where a PL just goes and takes this tower. But I don't want that to be you. You know? And I'm not saying this PL's like bad by taking a tower that's free to him. But it just doesn't do anything. And it's not something you're going to get at better games. Like, I guarantee you, your wife can tell you, like, this tower is not something you just get for free. Right? It's just not. And the point of this tower is that because it's not important to you, and there's so much good stuff over here, there's just no reason to be down here. You know what I mean? Like,
So does that make it worthwhile on either team to defend your offlane tier 1, or is it a tower that you
they should defend it, absolutely. They're supposed to be... When you're behind, you're supposed to be playing the triangle. Like, when you're behind, this is like... Because I told you this is where you play when you're ahead... Guess what? When you're behind, you naturally shift to back here. Okay? So, the reason why this tower is so bad, generally speaking, is because that's where the opponent's probably is. And that's where they want to be. If you're ahead. And if you're behind, that's like crazy talk to go for a tower. You know what I mean? So, if I tell you the team that's ahead wants to play here, and you're the opponent, the tower they want to take is this one. Right? So, all the things I'm telling you, by the way, are just flipped on Dire. It's literally
that's kind of what I
yeah.
assumed.
And the only difference is that on Dire, you have to make some like big rotation from this side of the map to eventually take Roche. So that's why, in my opinion, Radiant has a higher win rate than Dire. Like, TLDR. Okay. Cool. So, if you have any questions about that, now's the time. The really only benefit to playing bottom is Ancients. That's really the only big benefit. So if you're Radiant and you want to choose to play bottom, it's usually after you've taken top tier 1 and mid tier 1. And it's because your team wants to farm Ancients a lot. Just so you know, that really is only the reason. But I think for now, it's safe for you to do what you're doing right here, where you just go back top every time. Every time you show up to a fight, mid or top, make sure both lanes are pushed in, and then you can go fight again. Or go push a tower or whatever. So obviously you're an offlaner, but you're going Radiance.
Probably should have went like Blink or Armlet or something.
It's hard. I'm going to tell you this, okay? So the weakness of items like Radiance is that it doesn't do anything for 5,000 gold. Meaning, like, once you get 5,000 gold, it's like this huge power spike. But up until that point, it doesn't do anything. So the way I want you to understand offlane, at a very basic level, is it's almost always your job to constantly be doing something, okay? Very rarely. The exceptions to this is when you have, like, a very aggressive carry, like a Ricky with Diffusal or something, and your hero is actually better to get more farm, right? But I would say it's safe to say it's not going to happen like that in your games, okay? Most of the time. So I would say it's your job to constantly be pushing top, constantly be pushing mid, and looking to threaten objectives and fights and all that kind of stuff, okay? And the weakness of this Radiance is that you're waiting for 5,000 gold before you get any stronger. So you're spending this, like, 15-minute window where you have the same items. Or, like, 10-minute window or whatever, you know? So all I'm going to tell you is, I need you to be able to push that mid lane and top lane. And if you can't do that, you can't go for greedy items. If you feel like in your bracket you can do that and go for Radiance, then just fucking do it, okay? But, like, if you feel like, wow, like, I could have pushed this if I had an Armlet or a Blink or some shit, but because I'm rushing this Radiance, I can't do it anymore, that's not okay. Can we work with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so all I tell people is items like Midas, Radiance, they're greedy. And what greed does is everyone has a job in the game. And if you can't do your job by going for these greedy items, it's too greedy. So I think the most important thing at a basic level is to identify what your job is. And so I'm trying to tell you, this is the answer to your question, but it's a step-by-step process. You know, it's not like I can just give you the answer and suddenly you're a genius. You know, you have to figure out yourself the steps in between the question and the answer, right? There's a few steps along the way. So if those steps require you to buy blade mails or armlets or drums or whatever, then buy them. If they don't require that, you can go for more greedier items. And that'll give you a nice sense of, like, you know, when you can go for more farming-based items. As an offlaner, your job will be to pressure mid and top all the time. There are exceptions to that, but if you focus on being wave-clearing heroes, for now, it'll carry you for a while. Like, it will carry you for at least, like, 1,500, 2,000 MMR or so. Like, it will. Okay. So, yeah. Wow. Okay. Didn't expect that. Cool. Let's see. Okay, so this is what you're doing here is great. Like, this is exactly the status quo I want established by you. And what you're going to eventually learn is how aggressive you can be. Can you push the tower if they're all missing? Who kills you on the opponent team? You know, who can I farm against? What I mean by that is when heroes collide while they're farming, usually one hero is stronger than the other, okay? So what it means is if both heroes are we're just like man mode and hit each other, one hero is going to win. So that's something you can start thinking about with matchups, okay? Is what heroes, if I go up and stun them and cast abilities on them, do I win against? And oftentimes, when you hear about carry or pro players or whatever saying this is a good matchup, usually the good matchup is the guy that kills the other guy. So even though you killed the Alk there, because you had Sunstrike, he's not. I don't think that's supposed to work, but it's fine if you think like, oh, that worked, and you learn. And even if it gives you false information, like even if stuff that's happening at your 1K bracket is giving you the wrong information, I still want you to like absorb it in a way that's like, oh, that's a way BSJ tells me a matchup matters. So I'm going to try to remember when I was playing Wraith King and I went and clicked the Alk, he died. Cool. But if I do it to a PL, that didn't work so well, or whatever. You're going to learn your matchups. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're top lane, we're chilling, going for our Radiance. All's good in the world. Got ourselves a Dragon Scale. Okay. What's the problem with this rotation?
Top isn't shoved.
Cool. Just get in the habit. Later, you can start worrying about sometimes skipping waves and shit. For the next 2,000 MMR, that lane gets pushed before you walk anywhere else. Just making sure we're on the same page. Good job. Okay, you want to go push mid? Cool. In general, like I told you, this tower doesn't really matter, but it's better than doing nothing. I would rather you be pushing top now. So, your Lion is now pushing top. And you're in the enemy triangle. You know what? I want that mindset that I told you about top and mid to last until at least, we'll say 20 minutes, okay? Like a nice round number. After you've gone for that 20 minutes, in an ideal world, this tower's dead, and maybe this tower's dead, but usually it won't be, okay? So usually this tower's dead. And at this point, what mode are we kind of in?
Look for Roche.
Look for Roche, and then what? What's like the logical step after?
Maybe try and fight.
Yeah. You're in... So, when you're ahead like this, there's a couple options. Do we have to... Are we strong enough to go high ground, or are we not? Okay, it's kind of similar to earlier where it's like, are we strong enough to take this tier 1, or are we not? If we're not strong enough to go high ground, what are we doing?
Farming.
Farming. So, if we're ahead, the goal is for people to understand that it doesn't matter who has technically the superior late game. All that matters is who's stronger. If you walk high ground, who's the stronger team? To be very clear, it's hard to fathom, really, but being high ground is such a high advantage. Like, there's so much advantage to it. They've made it so people under tower have HP regen. They have armor. Like, the tower glyph obviously does a lot of damage. They made it so, you have uphill miss when you're ranged heroes. There's, the respawn of the opponent, the buybacks, you know what I mean? Like, they have so many benefits to them that make them stronger on the high ground, right? So the point is, you're going to have to start evaluating, just guessing, to yourself what it takes to go high ground, okay? In a safe formulaic Dota, you take these, outer tier 2s like you did, you get that Roche, you finish off the rest of the tier 2s, you spend that entire Roche farming the whole map. If any of them leave base, you kill them, okay? You just be like, oh, they left base, kill them. If they don't leave base, you just out-farm them, and then you get the second Roche at, 30 minutes into the game, and you win.
So what do you do in that time that, you're ahead, but there's no, real objectives to take? Roche is, you killed Roche, but you can't run high ground.
Cool. So what did I tell you was the purpose of towers?
They open up camps?
Yeah. So what am I doing in the time that I can't go high ground?
You just hit camps?
You're farming more camps than they are. That's all there is to it, right? So if I'm ahead, I just have to make sure if I don't feel strong enough to go high ground, that I'm taking camps from the opponent and we're getting more than they are. And if they're sitting in base, you absolutely are getting more than they are. Absolutely, right? So it's hard to explain at any more advanced level than that. I love your ballsy 1k level build, though, the Radiance of the Octarine Core. The Octarine Core, I'm going to have to veto. Don't do that. For the future reference. I'd say after Radiance, you're definitely going AC or Blink or something. Either an aura item or a initiation item. So Blink, Shadow Blade, or AC would be my next item if you're going to go Radiance. Okay, so can you understand at a basic level, am I speaking, I'm not trying to, I hope I don't sound insulting. Am I speaking at a level that makes sense? You're just going to look to farm more than they do. So if that's what that means, what I want you to do is be like, okay, BSJ told me when I take towers, that means all the camps that are now in front of those towers are mine. So in general, the only exception to that is really the triangle, but you guys actually have ward vision on this triangle, right? So at a basic level, if you have ward control somewhere, you should try to play around it. So if you're ahead, based on the dead lane theory at the most basic level, how much of the map are you farming?
Right now,
Like percentage.
Like 70%.
2/3. So you're close, but why is it 2/3?
Because we have.
There's 3 lanes, and you control 2 of them.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it, right? That's what the dead lane means. It means that if you're ahead, you're controlling 2 lanes. Why is it not 3, BSJ? Because if one of our heroes shows bottom, one of our heroes shows mid, and one of our heroes shows top, what happens?
I'm sorry, ask that again.
Yeah, you're fine. If I farm bottom wave and the enemy sees me, and my teammate farms mid wave and they see him, and my other teammate farms top wave and sees him, what does that mean for the opponent?
They can go on somebody.
They can just go kill somebody because they see 3 separate people in 3 different places, right? So that's what we're going for. Like, you're farming 2/3 of the map, and so you're controlling those 2 lanes, and you're also farming the jungles around them, like as much as you possibly can. And the goal is that after you've cleared all the jungles in the wave, then what? So you start getting faster and faster with farming, right? Like
right.
The creeps are gonna die faster and faster. So, like I told you, after you push top and mid at that mid stage, what were you doing?
Hitting their camps.
You were looking for kills, weren't you? Like, or you were like running to do something. So, farm all these camps that you got, the 2 waves you got, whatever you're choosing. It's always top and mid or bottom and mid at this point. 20 minutes in, just choose one. It's usually, I'd go safe to say it's based off your ward vision. If you have more wards top, choose top and mid. If you have more wards bottom, choose bottom and mid. Of course, if you haven't taken Roche yet, I'm always going to play around Roche. If I'm ahead. Like, because the last thing you want to do is, like, go push bottom and, like, the enemy team just randomly steals Roche. You know, that's, like, that's bad. That's really bad. So, all I'm saying, though, is clear all these camps that are between the 2 lanes. So if I told you your lanes are top and mid, you push this lane in, you push this lane in, you kill all these camps, and then you go Roche. Or you go look for kills. You know? And then rinse and repeat that every minute. You see what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Okay. And if you watch high-level games with, like, my mindset of, like, I'm telling you what to do, you can see what better players are doing. Like, now that I've given you, like, kind of the basic information to, like, discern what the strategy is, you can kind of pay attention. Like, you can understand it. Like, maybe you don't understand exactly why they're doing what they're doing, but you'll see what they're doing in regards to this. It'll help you a bit. So don't be afraid to watch, like, a couple games with that in mind, of maybe, like, some offlane players. In your case, to learn, you might want to thrash carry players past, like, the 10-minute mark, because you're kind of playing your hero like a carry. Okay, so we got Roche. You see them under wards, run it, you know. You taking their camps, great. Your team's fighting, I would show up to this. You're an offlaner and your team's fighting at this stage, past 20 minutes, you're at the fight. That's just all there is to it. Definitely do not farm camps if your team is fighting.
Anyone here know what a dead lane is?
So all those rules I told you about farming camps and shit, if your team insists on fighting, you gotta be there. Feel free to advise them that you're probably not strong enough to go high ground at 22 minutes into the game. Remember, you guys also have Aegis for 5 minutes. You can utilize the Aegis to go high ground in the last, like, minute or 2. You don't have to do it right away. Most people have this idea that we get Aegis. Go, 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 guys, go, go! We got Aegis.
Run down mid.
Yeah, get him! Okay. Okay. Game's kind of a shit show at this point. It's going to be impossible for me to predict anything that happens in these games. Okay, so the opponent chased you guys down. Cool, we got a kill. You know, I think your overall playstyle is pretty reasonable. You said you were doing well, like you were winning most of your games. And I think, in general, like, your overall play is above 1k. So I think you will continue to grow. But I also think we can get this down to a rigid science, you know? Those random moments at 8 minutes where you kind of just did nothing. Those random TPs to the bottom lane. The random times you didn't push top. If we can just get those, like, fundamentals out of the way, you'll just easily crush these people. Like, none of them do it, right? I'm pretty confident in that. So, eventually, I want you to start adding heroes to your pool, but worry about that later, you know? Just, you have a whole array of heroes that clear creep waves. That's my only advice for you right now. Pick one of those that does that. Heroes like Axe are a bit tougher, because after the 10-minute mark, it's actually really bad for Axe to show in lane. Because he's a hero that functions very poorly by getting initiated onto, but functions very well by initiating onto them. Would you say Wraith King does not mind getting initiated onto?
Not really.
No, he doesn't mind it, right?
So life.
Yeah, he's a great hero to be shoving waves over and over again. any tank offlaners, they're great, man. Centaurs, Abaddons, Wraith Kings, Necro. Sure, Necro's great. You know, prime examples, Underlord, Tidehunter, Doom's kind of okay. Not as amazing as the others. Bristleback. All these heroes fit the same description. They kind of just walk down lanes and don't mind getting initiated onto. You know, heroes I wouldn't recommend, Axe, Legion. These heroes require, like, showing, or, like, information gain. You know, they don't just want to walk down lanes. That's not what they do. And if you practice this idea, you'll learn the importance of lane shoving. You'll realize, like, how much pressure you're putting on the opponent. You'll learn how to survivably, like, farm and push waves. And then the next step after that would be, like, we can talk about, like, itemization. We can talk about potential rotations, all that kind of stuff. But at this point, I am a firm believer that nobody in 1K is efficient. There's just no humanly possible way to be in 1K if you are an efficient player. Like, it's just not possible. To be honest with you guys. So, let's go ahead and pull up your Mirana replay. You got it for me?
Let me just get the session ID for you.
So we're not going to spend quite as much time on this one because I did spend about an hour and 10 minutes on the other one. So, just letting you know, we'll spend maybe 20 minutes on this one. But I'll make sure I hammer in some fundamentals for you as a 4-position player as well. I'd highly implore you to watch the coaching session with Ari too. It's just a free.
I'm gonna go do that next.
Yeah.
I actually been watching your videos on Game Leap all day today.
Cool. That sounds like you. I'm asking you, why are you trying to get better at Dota? I'm actually just fascinated.
It's like I started playing. I guess I started playing it 8 months ago, and I just fell in love with the game. It's so much fun. I love the heroes. I love the customization. I don't know.
Yeah, man, it's a beautiful game. I'm glad you appreciate it.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's cool, man. I'm glad. It's a game where, like, once stuff starts making sense, it's just like it can also be obviously one of the most agonizingly painful games, but it can be quite nice. So, are you playing this as 4 or 5?
I think I end up going 5 because I think Shaman demanded you go 4, so we get bullied this lane. Because I'm bad.
Okay, so I'm not gonna waste your time talking about starting items because I talked about that a lot with Ari. I want you to listen to that part of the coaching session as a support. So as support, a lot of it is to think about what your cores need from you and all that kind of stuff, and what type of heroes you're against and all that kind of stuff. And I did like a whole 20-minute spiel or some shit with him. So I'm not gonna do it with you, just to make sure we don't spend too much of this last replay on that. So as support, you can have a great time practicing your basic itemization. A lot of that comes into your starting items. A lot of that comes into like your first survivability item or whatever, whether or not that's like a Yule's, or maybe you go Spirit Vessel, or you know, whether or not it's Tranquil Boots or Mana Boots. Yeah, that kind of stuff. So I'll teach you real quick. Almost every ranged hero in the safe lane, you want to, unless you're just a squishy piece of shit, you're going to play over here. Because what that does is it allows you to click the opponent without drawing creeps. Do you see that? Because you, just like a support, you can aggro creeps, right? Most of the time as support, you don't want to aggro creeps. So go ahead.
May I ask a real quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
If I play in that place you just put at, what happens when Centaur and Tusk run at me? Because they can kill me really fast. If I stand there. So what do I do when they just run at me?
Do you know what concept of Dota you are asking about right now?
Positioning?
Yeah, that is exactly what you were asking about. So simply put, you need to understand how close they can be to you before you die. Meaning every hero in the game is different, right? When Tusk is level 1, do you know what skill he has most of the time? Okay, so what like range does he have to be in to you to do that?
Range.
What?
Melee range.
Right? So, do you know what item most Tusks go to start the game?
Blightstone? Or Venom?
It's either
Yeah.
this or what? Do you know? The other, it's not Blightstone.
A Windlace?
Yeah, it's either that, Windlace, or Boots, right? So it's either a movement speed slow item or a movement speed to them item. Okay? So, I did the whole spiel with Aerie, but just to be very clear to you, in this lane, if I tell you you're supposed to play up here as a ranged support and your primary concern is these guys walking at you and killing you, what items might you consider buying?
Windlace.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's exactly what I talked about with Aerie, but if you want a more detailed talk about it, just check it out.
Sorry, I probably should have saved questions until I.
No, it's absolutely fine. When you ask that question, it helps me. That's a good question. So your whole idea of playing over here, and I tell you that's how you're supposed to play. The cool part about it is you asked a question that immediately posed a problem. You were like, BSJ, what do I do if they walk at me? Guess what? That's solved by positioning. That's solved by items. That's solved by, understanding of matchups. Like, that's exactly what Dota is. I'm telling you what the right thing to do is, and you have to figure out how the fuck you're supposed to do it. And if you have items that don't allow you to do it, so I told Aerie, there's two things that can happen. It's either you played it wrong, meaning you were like positioned or used abilities wrong, or your items or levels are bad. Like your ability skilling or your item usage is bad, right? So like right now, if you were to die against these two heroes, I'd be like, dude, why the fuck do you have a headdress? That's like the perfect explanation for it. You know what I mean? Like, do you know what kind of lanes headdress is good in at a basic level?
With like a Spectre lane or something that needs sustain?
Yeah, it's a lot. And what type of lanes do you... I don't want even hero. You can give me heroes if you want, but what type of lanes are sustain lanes good with? Or good against?
Harass?
Yeah, harass heavy lanes. Is that a harass heavy lane?
No.
What type of lane is that?
It's a kill lane.
Right. So does healing or does like continuous regen over time do anything against kill lanes?
No, sir.
No. Cool. Like basic understanding of items. Like that's what I taught Aerie, and I know I keep talking about it even though I said I wouldn't. I believe, based on what you've said, you are capable of quickly processing this information. So, nice. Accidentally stole the creep. Wink, wink. I got you. Yeah, definitely try to do exactly what you're doing with this harass, but not in creep range, right? Do it from the left. Do it where you're poking these guys and being an annoying little douchebag. So, as Mirana, I think it's reasonable if you want to toss out some arrows. And guess what? If you're going to toss out some arrows, what other problem could you be running into?
Not having a stun when they go on me?
Oh, not having enough mana is what I would say. So if you're going to, based on this, it's like, if I feel like I need to toss more arrows and I have no mana, maybe my starting items are bad, right? Just another example of that. So usually I see Mirana start with like Boots and Tango, and then they fly themselves a bunch of Clarities. Or they'll start with like Windlace and some health and mana regen, A lot of what Miranas will start with. Sometimes they'll go like Blightstone and unique lanes or whatever, but... okay, so you threw out a stun. I would say the majority of the time the benefit of Mirana is that her arrow one-shots creeps. So
I should just be throwing it like jungle creeps?
Yeah, usually I'll do what I'm doing with you, and this is why Mirana's not usually played as a 5. Because in the off lane, she loves right-clicking from over here and then just arrowing this. Like, that's what she likes to do, right? Most off-lane Miranas will do that. Or, sorry, 4-position Miranas played in the off lane. That's what they'll do. And it's a little bit awkward for you to do that here, right? Like, usually the lane's back here, so you're, like, over here and then arrowing this. Like, that's kind of weird, right? Because the opponents are, like, seeing you do this. It's like, while we're over here, the opponents are here, and you're arrowing these. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't see you doing it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so they always have to be wary of the arrow.
At a very basic level, people ask me, like, why is this hero or whatever not a 4, it's a 5, whatever. It's usually because the hero's abilities naturally function better in one lane or the other. Like, as Mirana, it's usually played as a 4 because it functions better top than it does bottom. There's other supports that are the opposite. Okay. So lane's pushed out. Looks like you're gonna go pull. Reasonable. I talked to Aerie about pull timings, so definitely just watch that. I don't want to spend too much time with that. Let's see. Okay. I'd say your job as support, TLDR, is that if the lane's being shoved, remember how on offlane I told you, like, if the lane's shoving into their tower, you either dive them or pull, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the lane's being shoved in the safe lane, you pretty much always go pull. Almost always, okay? And if you're waiting until the lane's already at their tier 1 tower, it's already too late. Like, usually the indication that a lane's pushing is, like, you have more creeps than they do. Right? You have 5 creeps, they have 4, or whatever. So if the lane has any indication of pushing, meaning you have more creeps than they do at any given moment, that means the lane 2 lanes from now is going to be at their tower. Or, sorry, 2 waves from now is going to be at their tower. So you need to pull, like, immediately. Otherwise, it's too late. So the problem you have with lane equilibrium here is that you can't even fix it. And even if you went and pulled and fixed the lane equilibrium, your Wraith King's already dead. And if you sit behind him, it's like nice and all, but then the lane's at their tower, that doesn't feel good either. So the goal as a support is to have the lane be here as often as possible, and when it's not there, you immediately make it back there. You know? I will say Aerie did a lot more pulling than you, and I want you to realize that that 115 pull is really important. The pull at 1 minute and 15 seconds. If you miss that pull when the lane's already pushed out, it is highly detrimental to your lane. So a fundamental thing is if the lane's ever pushing and you don't pull at 115, that's like unexcusable, right? Like it's just something you'll always have to do. If you're playing off lane, it's a great thing to do if the lane's shoved into their tower at 115 to pull this camp in. It's a great thing to do, especially if you're like a Mirana where you just, what that does is you're going to arrow the big creep, your other creeps are going to aggro over here, so it's just going to be a lane that's like farmed over here with you, and then your off laner is going to be over here chilling. Right? Like, he's just going to, like, the creep wave that you pulled is effectively allowing his creep wave to run all the way out here, and your offlaner is just farming over here. Lane 1, easy game, right? If you're in the safe lane, and you're able to, like, minorly push out the lane for the first 2 creep waves, and then go pull at 115, lane 1, easy game. Like, and I talked to all details. I know you're probably going to have questions about that, but I definitely think... Feel free to ask them in Discord after, like, you watch the Aerie thing. I keep wanting to call him Eerie. Okay. So, super important they have a small camp. I don't know if you noticed, but it didn't, like, the first time you got it, obviously, but after that it stopped spawning.
So that they have a ward there.
Yeah. Super important as a support that you de-ward any wards that you are certain are there. And obviously, the only way you can be absolutely certain is that you either see them there or the camp's blocked. So you actually bought a sentry. Okay, so you're very on top of that. Cool. Never mind. I just, taught you something you already knew. This lane is just a kill lane, and kill lanes and equilibrium is more important than ever. Because if the lane's far out, kill lanes have way more threat on your carry. And at your level... Like, I might die to this shit, like, against, like, players at my skill level if the lane's out that far. At your level, your carry's gonna die every fucking time, bro. Like, not even close. They're gonna die. So, keeping that lane equilibrium near your tower is very important. And as an off-laner, like the 4-position Mirana, obviously pulling the lane back as often as possible is great. And then looking to dive them later, maybe with, like, the stun from your off-laner plus you. Okay, so you take over the lane. Mirana's a very nice support for this. Obviously,
I still die to them. I think twice because they can go on me under tower so easy.
Yeah, so this is just a positioning thing. You can't afford every death. I did a carry coaching session earlier. He had a death where what happens is he went out of position, took like 500 damage, and then the enemy team dove him. Are you not aware that the only thing you're afraid of happening here is getting dove? Are you fully aware of that?
Yes.
Okay. So you need to not take any amount of damage before these creeps get into your tower, bro. So what are you trying to do right now? I notice you're trying to push out the wave, right?
Yeah.
Does it feel good to do that with 60 damage right clicks?
No, it does not.
My question would be, is there any tool on your own side of the map that can help you... What?
Starstorm?
No. We don't have mana to cast that shit. Is there any tool on our side of the map that also kills creeps way faster than I do?
The tower?
What is the purpose of creep aggro?
Pulling them into the tower.
Yeah.
Oh my
Crazy,
God.
right? It's like, I don't want to get dove. I'm trying to de-push this shit. I can't do it alone. Tower, save me. Right? Then you even get to practice CSing under tower, which is even more fun.
I have such a little brain after you have to break that down for me.
No, most people don't do it. I literally coached a guy that was like 3.5K today that plays carry, and he didn't do that either. So, something to think about. Okay. Dota's all about, hey, I'm scared of getting dove. I need to de-push this shit as much as possible. You need to get real creative. You know, there's a lot of tools in your arsenal. You know, you got to figure out the problem. The fact that you identified the problem correctly is great. Now you just need to think outside the box a little bit. And as long as you know what the problem is, you can actually watch a lot of other players and learn from them, right? Because they're going to deal with the same problems at 8K as you do at 1K. Like, we deal with the same shit. It's just like, usually we handle it better. You know what I mean? That's what I always do. So this initial series of volley of damage you took is the big problem, right? Then you get dove, because you had no leaps left, you had no mana, you were like already missing a half of your health. That's the problem. You don't die here like you said you would. And if you, okay, my question is, if you play it perfectly and die anyway, what are your thoughts?
Then I either didn't play it perfectly or I don't.
Well, I guess I'm supposed to just die here. Like, not much I can really do about it. So at that point, you're saying, is the XP I'm getting under tower worth death? You know?
Base created kick W.
Yeah, kick W. You know, you tank the gank. Sometimes, a lot of times, actually, if your carry's forced to leave, especially because you didn't do a good job supporting and he died a bunch, it's your job to take the lane as often as you can from this guy so that he doesn't have to come back. That's mainly against, like, kill lanes and shit, you know? So, your best friend as a support is the Clarity. It's a very good friend of yours. Get used to it. Please buy more Clarities. Not much else to say about that one.
If Wraith King is going to the jungle, is it my job to still pull, or do I leave that camp for him to farm?
Your job is to make this tower not die. Anything in the meantime, whatever, figure it out.
Oh, okay.
Is that reasonable? You can pull if you want.
I expected, like, a super complicated answer.
No, like, top, your job as an offlaner, it was to take top tier 1, then mid tier 1, then top tier 2, right?
So their job is
anything in between, anything that's stopping you, that's a unique puzzle to the game of Dota 2 that you gotta figure the fuck out, you know? Did I have to buy a different item? Did I have to skill differently? Did I have to, like, play more passively until I had more levels? You know, did I have to, like, whatever? Did I not have enough mana? You know, whatever. But, like, that's what Dota is. And my goal is to teach you guys, hey, this is your goal. Figure it out. I can't actually help you any further than that. Like, in a specific game, I can tell you what you were supposed to do. But I don't think that really helps that much. Like, I'm willing to give examples of answers. Like here, I think you should have way more mana. Like, so Headdress didn't do shit. I think you should have, like, Windlace Boots. All of your items should be predicated on getting mana, so that you can spam even Starstorm to help push out the wave. You could have arrowed the catapult from over here a long time ago, rather than trying to, like, arrow it directly. You can do it from, like, fog and shit. You don't have to, like, show the guy you're arrowing it. And then, every time the creep wave's near your tower, you drag it into your tower. Then you can start learning, like, juke spots in the trees, where instead of running this way like you did, you can run this way. And then you can have tangos where you cut this tree down, where you're juking the guy around. You know, you get real fucking creative. You know what I mean? That's what Dota is.
I'm not laughing at you.
No, that's really what Dota is. Watch support players at the highest level trying to defend their own tower. They do some wonky shit, right? Like, and what happens is, as a carry player, or like a guy trying to take this tower, I've learned what these people try to fucking do. So I know, like, generally, if I go here, the guy either walked this way, or he quelling bladed this tree, or, like, tangoed this tree. So I always, like, take a little sidestep here to see if that tree's still there. And if it's still there, I know he went this way. You know, like, that's what we do. Like, that's high-level Dota for you, okay? So the point is, though, it takes you a long time to figure out that perfect answer in every situation. Just get creative. Don't be afraid to think outside the box. Did I need more mana? Did I need to nuke this wave out more? You know, was I dying under tower because I had 50 mana? God, I should have bought some more Clarities. You know, whatever. Yeah. Are we cool?
Yeah.
Dota's, you know, I think you're one of the people, you seem intuitive, so I just laid it out for you exactly what you're supposed to do here, but other than giving you that as an example, I think it's more helpful to be like, hey, you gotta defend your tower, bro, get creative. Okay.
I don't know why I didn't put that shit together, that I should have just freaking did the
Killing spree.
aggro on the tower. I don't know why that didn't.
Hey man, there's a lot of shit like that. Don't feel bad. That took me a long time to figure some shit out too. You know, there's a lot of shit that you're like, Dota's a lot of like, wow, how did I not know that before? A lot of that, dude. Don't feel bad about that. That happens to me
Mega kill.
monthly.
Impossible kill.
Still. So, as I told Eri, your job is to not be a useless piece of shit. Would you define this as being a useless piece of shit?
Yes.
So,
very much so.
Just not acceptable. Any hero you're playing, any role, not acceptable. You either go to base or you fix it. Those are your two options. Okay? We cool on that? I kind of went into detail on Aries' lesson, so I want to make sure you don't waste more time. But do you understand what I mean by you either fix it or you go to base?
Yeah, you either like salve or regen some way or go to base.
Yeah,
go
exactly. Home. Yeah, there's no other in between. Stop being a useless piece of shit, support players. I get this in my 6K games. Don't feel bad. Just stop doing it. Okay.
Dire's top tower is under attack. Dire's top tower is under attack.
So at some point, you're going to learn over time that eventually it's not within your capabilities to defend this tower. Somehow, you're actually higher level than this Centaur. I probably would not use leaps for anything other than being defensive. Remember how I told you top is the safest part of the map?
Mm-hmm.
Guess what bottom is?
The not safest
the
part.
The dangerous part of the map. Cool, dead lane, awesome. So you should save every bit of resource, every little thing you can to do that. You can hear my spiel on Wand with Eri. God damn it.
Double kill.
Not gonna worry about that now.
I probably didn't need it this game.
Yeah, you can just hear it on there. I went on to a whole spiel about it. What item do you think would help you do your job right now? What problem am I constantly running into here?
Nana.
What item would help me a lot here?
Clarities.
And?
Arcane boots.
Yeah, arcane boots, man. Most Miranas I see, they go fucking, like, straight mana boots. Like, literally straight mana boots. I asked Eri a simple question. At 14 minutes in the game, how much does Windlacer boots help you? At 14 minutes.
Probably not a lot. You're probably getting chased.
I'm sorry. So at 14 minutes, can your hero function without boots or windlace?
Sorry, I thought you meant...
No, it's fine. I understand, like, you misunderstood the question.
You need boots to play the game, I'm aware.
Yeah, so how much, like, do these items help you at 14 minutes in the game?
Like, massively.
Okay, how much does a headdress help you?
Not very much.
Do you give a shit about the 2 HP regen you're getting from this headdress?
No.
At 14 minutes. Cool. So specific items like headdress and shit that don't help you at all at 14 minutes, why do you have them unless you absolutely needed them in lane? Like, that's just how it works. Like, any item I have that my hero just doesn't need at 14 minutes, it better be because I specifically needed it for that lane. Like, specifically, right? Like, so as support, you can start thinking about this at a basic level, you know? What items do I like having at 14 minutes? What items do I not like having? And if I'm on any hero you ever go, any hero you ever pick, if there's an item that you don't really like having, the only reason you would buy it is because whatever lane you're against, you specifically need it. Okay? Like, great. Like, that's when you start getting creative. Because you're like, okay, well, normally on this hero, I don't buy X item. But in this lane, I kept getting harassed a lot. So, I guess I had to go Tranquils this game. You know? Whatever. That's like a perfect example of what I'm talking about. I had an offlane coaching session. I believe it was like a 3.5k, no, 4-point-something K Centaur session. It's on YouTube. Check it out, because with him, I went into very much detail about, like...
The Vanguard, right?
What?
Were you talking about the Vanguard?
Yeah.
I watched that.
Okay, great. So, after you've gotten to, like, 2K with the stuff I've taught you at, like, a fundamental level, you should start thinking about items in the way that I taught him. I would not concern yourself too much right now with that from a core role. But guess what? As a support role, there's really not much to think about. Right? Like, you're just kind of walking around the map and warding and shit. You know, like, as an offlaner, you're going to be very busy clearing creeps and laning and all that kind of crap. As a support, I want you to start thinking about the items at a basic level because there's not much else to do. So, you know, I want you to start smally, sort of thinking about the game that way. So all the rules of the game that I talked about with top and mid, it's still the goal as a support. But as support, your job can range from being the guy that pressures those waves and pushes them out, which on heroes like Mirana is great because you're very elusive. You're very survivable. So, like, if I don't see top wave getting pushed as a Mirana support, I'm fucking chilling. I'm walking there straight to top, TP in there, whatever, and I'm farming. Okay? I'm a survivable support. You can watch how professional weavers play. It's the same type of concept. They just are annoying. And they're supports that you don't want to gank because they're hard to gank. Right? Do you get that? Like, imagine from the enemy team's perspective, if you have 3 leaps, you're actually really annoying to gank.
It's wasting time.
Yeah, so oftentimes with Mirana, her most useful thing as a support is the fact that she can take farm that nobody else on her team can take. So either, if your team's farming top and mid, what are you doing?
Deep pushing bottom?
Yeah, if possible. If they're not pushing top or mid, what are you doing?
If they're not pushing top or mid, top or mid.
Yeah, you're pushing top or mid. That's what you're doing. So I'm telling you, the only reason you go bottom to push it is because nobody else on your team, the other 2 lanes are being pushed by your team. This is talking like past 10 minutes, right? I'm not talking about the laning stage. Like when you're in the laning stage and you're carry jungles, like by all means, you're taking the fucking lane, right? You did that. Okay? What I'm saying is, at this stage in the game, we're in the same mode as we were as an offlaner. Top and mid are getting pushed. Anything else is a nuisance. Like, it just doesn't fucking matter, right? So, if top and mid are already being pushed as a support, your 2 choices are to play around one of the guys pushing or to farm bottom. And that's up to you in every game. That's your 2 choices, though. So, what kind of guy would you want to play around as a Mirana?
Wraith King?
What?
Wraith King?
Yeah, Wraith King. Why? Oh, no. Wraith King's your carry farming a Radiance. Who else would you want to play around? Who on your team's the playmaker?
Slardar?
Yeah, Slardar. Who else is a playmaker? Who has a stun that you could follow?
Shadow Shaman?
Yeah, what else? Another core with a stun.
Puck?
Yeah, Puck. Puck and Slardar are great options. Does Wraith King want 5 heroes around him?
No.
As a carry hero? No, right?
No.
So that's a basic question I told Ari to ask himself. It's like, does this guy want people with him? And the answer is no at this stage, right? He wants to be farming. So as a carry, like most of the time, you don't play with your carry. There are some games where you have, Ricky, a Slark, a Wraith King that seems intent to fight, whatever, that you'll play with your carry. But my point is, if you're bottom, you're not doing anything. What I mean by not doing anything is objectively you are not doing anything. You are simply preventing the opponent from taking your objectives. That is what you are doing as a support. So your choice is to either be bottom and take the dangerous farm so that nobody else has to, which is also a very important job, by the way, that I literally lost a game the other day because a rank 700 Grimstroke didn't understand that. And the other option is to be around top and mid where you're looking to make plays. Those plays can either be pushing the waves, or as a Mirana, you're like a natural follow-up stun to people, right? Like that's what your hero does. You wait for somebody to stun, you arrow the guy that's stunned, and you kill them, right? I want you to be in the same mode as a support. I think it's really important that you have some basic wave clear, and it's even better if you have some survivability. I think it's really hard to play heroes like fucking Clockwork in your bracket. Like, fuck, man, if nobody's pushing waves, what the fuck do you do as a Clockwork? Shit. I don't know. Like, notice how I'm telling you, like, I'm giving you, like, 4 or 5 options that you can play as a support, and all of them culminate to if top lane's already being pushed, if bottom lane isn't safe enough for you, then look, guess what? What are you doing?
Pushing it because you have an escape?
I'm saying, sorry. If bottom lane's not safe enough for you, and top and mid are already being pushed, because I told you top and mid being pushed are the objectives here, what are you doing? Just like in the Wraith King game. I told you top and mid are pushed, what are you doing?
Top and mid are pushed?
When you were Wraith King.
Playing around the jungle looking for kills?
Yeah, exactly. You're looking to make plays. That's exactly what you're doing as support. If all the jobs in the game are being taken care of, you go look for shit. Like, you just go, like, walk into their jungle since you're an aggressive support with 3 leaps, Like, if you're a more squishy support, maybe you follow one of your other guys. Let him go first. Like, walk behind your Slardar or something. The point is, though, that these jobs that need to be done in the game are always the same. It's just as a support, you kind of fill in the gaps. As a core, you kind of just do whatever you want. Like, in terms of the jobs. Like, you take your job that you want and do it. You know what I mean? If I'm a core that'd rather be around bottom and I do that. If I'm an offlaner that wants to be pressuring the top and mid, I'm doing that. As a support, you need to understand that these are jobs, and you just kind of do whatever nobody else is doing. And if there's no job to be doing, then you're running around and killing people or looking for kills. You know what I mean?
Trying to.
Yeah, trying. And I'm basically trying to tell people that there's a lot of things that set up good kills, that set up good fights. And if I can give you some basic guidelines to what needs to be done first before you kill people, you'll start to learn to play the map, and then you'll just look for kills after you've done those things. And the kills that you get will be much more valuable because you've already pushed in the lane. You can look to take objectives off of it. You know, you got more farm because you were pushing waves. This is the type of stuff I was telling Ari. As a support in your bracket, it's the same thing that applies to the offlaner. Nobody's going to clear fucking waves. So I need you to just understand the basic purpose of bottom. Bottom's to D-push, top is to pressure. So if nobody's doing those things and you think you're capable of it on whatever hero you're playing, do it. Right? Like, Mirana, like, if you're like some safe lane 5-position squishy fuck, I probably wouldn't be playing aggressively in their jungle. You know what I mean? But as a Mirana, you kind of have a lot of different options. Mirana's a support that's kind of like an all-around do whatever the hell because she's very elusive, right? Okay. Did all that register? I know it's...
Yeah, I have like almost all of it.
Yeah, I just know for a fact this is shit you've never even considered, so it's just...
Yeah,
like, I understand that it can be, like, I know I'm a bit overwhelming, so... I will basically wrap up the session there. Is there any questions you have moving forward that like will help you learn this shit?
I came into this knowing that it was already bad, right?
Yeah. Your wife told you so, I'm sure.
But tremendously.
Yeah.
But now I feel like I just never played Dota before this session. I feel like I've just been playing League or something. I don't know.
Yeah, the basic bitch stuff, right? Yeah.
I feel like it was so simple staring me in the face, and I made it so much harder. I don't know.
Dota's all about a bunch of bullshit being thrown at you, and you have to know what bullshit matters to you. That's actually what Dota is, in my firm opinion. There's a lot of things I say like Dota is just this, but that's one of them. You know, that's it's not just you. So as long as you don't take that as discouraging, that's good. So
no, not at all, sir.
Okay, right on, man. Thanks for signing up. Good luck.